Hello all, welcome to my first tutorial after you might have completed the first task. You've had the opportunity to work on repo.ie, .it, I beg your pardon, and that's the website you're seeing here now. What it basically means is that you are coding from a browser, okay? At times when people code from the browser, they cannot actually connect well when, they cannot really grasp a good understanding of how it works in real life, because in real life you're not going to be coding from a browser. So this tutorial is going to focus simply on how you're going to start coding from your computer, and we're going to use something very simple. We're going to use something that everybody should have on their computer. I know when you're designing a website, you could there's several editors that you could use, but we're going to use the simplest one, which is Notepad. I'm sure everyone has a Notepad on their computer. You may not have heard of that before, I don't know, but I'm going to show you how to get there. Okay, but first of all, let me talk about what you know already. So you should have gone through this already, but maybe you never got to this homepage, but this is what you were using to practice the assignments that you were given, the tasks, the challenges, and all that. So the way it works is that you just go to the repo.it, and when you click on Start Coding, you choose which platform you want to use. There are several coding languages that you will come across if you decide to continue on this journey. There's a Python, there's Node.js, there's Java, etc. But we are learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That is what you have learned so far. Okay, so if I'm using this repo.it, I need to see the platform that I want. So choose this one here, and I'll now create a repo. And that's it. So this is what you have been doing. Because by default, you chose HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. You could see that the three different files are located here. You see, generally when you're creating a website, you need these three elements to work with. Okay, so you know this already. I suppose you know this already, but how do we now translate it to our computer? Because most of the times when you're designing a website, you don't design from a browser, you design it from your computer. So here is what I would be, I'm going to be talking you through. I hope you can see this one here. So I'm going to talk about how you're creating a website using Notepad or any text editor that you may have on your computer. Very simple, how to open it, we're going to create some HTML tags in it. We're going to save it, and we're now going to look at it from the browser, okay? And of course, we're going to look at different things like the elements, which you've learned already, but we're going to be adding it into the Notepad, and HTML attribute as well. We'll be looking at that sources, and we're going to add like an image in the HTML, and I'm going to give you this assignment. Okay, so this assignment is not just based on what I'm teaching you today, it's based on what you've learned so far. It's, if you can always go back to the videos. You've learned all this so far, but you want to implement them on your computer. That's the idea of today's lesson. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing you do when you are creating a website is to we're going to start from our desktop, okay, to make it easy for you to locate your items, your files. So on your desktop, you need to create a folder. And how do you create a folder? You right click, you hover your cursor on your desktop, you right click, and you choose new, okay, new folder. And we're going to call it, say, website. Just call it website, something simple, website. That's it. All right, website. So that's it. So we have an empty folder. Just double click to open it. Okay, so it's empty. Inside this folder, I want you to create another folder, and that folder, you're going to call it images. This is where you're going to be keeping all your images. Any picture we decide to add, we're going to add it here. So images, right? Then remember, you have learned JavaScript. A little of JavaScript, you're going to create another folder for JavaScript. All right, so by default we call it JS. Okay, Just call it JS for short. JS, that's for JavaScript. And of course, cascading style sheets, which is you probably know that now. It's called CSS. The full meaning is cascading style sheets, so we call it CSS. So you're going to you're creating separate folders for everything. You want to make sure your work is neat, so we're tidying the house. We're creating different sections for all the different things that we're going to be doing. Okay. Remember, we started from creating the website folder and CSS, images, and JavaScript. So at the moment, we got nothing. I did this on purpose so that you know how things get into them. All right. So the first thing or the next thing we need to do, I'm just going to pull up, I'm just going to follow this step by step. So first step is we're going to open a text editor. Remember I said we're going to be using notepad, because I assume everybody should have it on a computer. So what you do, if you have Windows, you just go to Windows here under the search here. You just type in note, N-O-T-E. That's it. So that's what we're going to use, notepad. Okay, so the notepad is quite empty. Now, I'm sure you learned a couple of stuff already, what your HTML page should contain and all that. But I'm gonna assume that you don't know yet. So let me just start. The first thing we need to do, right? We're gonna have a first opening tag. Let's call it HTML. This can be changed later on. HTML. So HTML. I'm sure you know what HTML stands for at this stage. HTML means hypertext markup language, okay? So for every opening tag, there must be a corresponding closing tag, HTML. Even though I know some tags do not have a corresponding closing tag, but there are very few of them. I'll be talking about that later on. So now we're starting with HTML. We're telling this computer to say, okay, we want to create a website. We're telling this file, I beg your pardon, that we want to create a website, okay, by adding HTML, Now, after creating the HTML, you want to also create content, create different sections that will be in that HTML. And typically, it will be like the head, H-E-A-D. Remember, for every opening tag, there is a corresponding closing tag, H-E-A-D. That's the closing tag for head. All right? So we're going to put several stuff inside the head. Okay? So that's one part of the HTML page. Then we're now going to go. Then the body. The body is the section of your page that people see. Anything you put within the head, people never see it. They're just things that make the body work, the content in the body work, okay? So now we're going to create the body tag. Body, opening tag, and a corresponding closing tag. Body. Right. Very simple, okay? Nothing. So once you have this set up, this is the structure. Okay, this is the structure you start up with first. So I'm going to save this. And when you're saving a web page, you must save it as a .html file. It has to be .html. So how do we do that? So I'm going to go to File, Save As. Remember, we created something on the desktop. Remember, the folder I called Website, remember? So I'm going to double click on it. Okay, remember we also created the CSS, the images, and GS. No, so but your first file, or the file that you're going to be coding on, will not be inside any folder. Will not be inside any of the subfolders. Will just be inside the main folder, and your first file on any web page must. I'm going to emphasize must be called index page. Index. Okay, so this is your first page. When you go to a website, the first page that you see is typically called an index page, okay? Somehow the browser looks for all the pages in your website and they look for index and they open that one first, okay? So if you want your website, if you want people to see a particular page first, you need to call it index. So we call index.html. You see that? That's the extension. If you do not give it that extension called .html, it will not work on the browser. Okay, so it has to be called .html. Okay, so now we have index.html, and I will save it now. Okay, brilliant. So it's saved now. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go to that folder that we've saved it and see what this file look like, this index.html. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to my desktop. To go to your desktop, there's a shortcut to go to your desktop. Is that you hover your cursor to the edge here and click on it, and that brings your desktop. Okay. Right, so you can see that that's the folder there called website. When you open it, now you look at the index now looks like a web page because we saved it as an index.html. But however, we haven't put anything inside. We only put the codes, the elements. There's nothing inside. So if I open it now, you see it's blank. There's nothing on it. All right, but at least we have created something in the browser. We created something already. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this page now. Yeah. So what do we do next? Let's see the list of stuff that we have to do. So we've done open the text, we've write some HTML, saved it, and we've viewed it in the browser, even though we have not put anything inside. So we're done with this first section. Okay, now let's try and put something. This I know you know already. You've learned H1 headings. Okay, H1 is the highest heading and H6 is the lowest heading. You know that already. Okay, so let's add H1. All right, inside the body tag. Remember, for something you want to see, it has to be within the body tag. Otherwise, it will not work. All right, so we're going to put my first heading inside within the H tags. Okay, H1 tag, I beg your pardon. So I'm going to go back to my here. So remember, we want to see, so it has to go within the body. So I'm going to go H1. And I'm going to type, remember, I always type the closing tag first so I don't forget. Because if you forget, at times things don't work well and you go, oh, it's not working for me. So now, so what do I want to put inside? I'll say my first H1. H1. Okay. Now I'm going to save it. Remember, you always have to save it for you to see it. If you don't save it, there's a problem. So that's it there. Again, I'm going to go back. Another shortcut to go to your desktop is Windows. You press the Windows down and D. That brings you your desktop. So back again. That's it. I'll just double check and see. That's it. So that's my first H1. You see that? So at least we can view this on the browser. So that's the way you're going to gradually start putting all the things that you have learned so far inside that page. Okay? Like I said, this is going to focus on just the HTML. The next one will probably be CSS and JavaScript. But let's get used to our HTML page first. All right. So the next thing, let's double check again. I'm not going to bother with all this. You know, the P stands for paragraph. BR stands for break. You want to go to the next line, so that's what it means. But one other thing I want us to quickly do is to add images. You know, to add text is quite simple. You know, you can just continue writing your text, you add your paragraph. But let's see how we can add a picture to this. Now, I purposely did not grab any picture. I do not have a picture, so we're going to go online now to look for any picture and see how we can add it. But before I do that, I just want to talk about the HTML attributes. Okay, so basically HTML has, I usually break it down into three parts, so to speak. All right, the first one is the element itself. Like this is the element. Okay, H1, P, right? This one's just several elements. I'll be providing you with a cheat sheet of all the different elements. So there are several elements. So that's what comes first. But each element usually will have what we call a key pair. It's an attribute, right? Each element has an attribute, and that attribute contains a value as well. Okay, so what am I saying? Okay, so it's just like the H1. Then the attribute is called source. Okay, so the source at times would have its own, you know, it comes in pairs. Okay, that's the source, which is the image, the image that is being inserted. But there's other times that source comes in some cases it comes in pairs. Like you see the image here. This image has its source called picture, but it also has values here. So we're specifying that this image, the source is, that's the picture, but the value for the picture is, it has to be 50 pixels wide and 600 pixels height. Okay, so let me go through that again. Elements, okay, attributes, value. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay, so that's it. So let's now put this into practice. So back to our HTML. As a matter of fact, we're going to go online. I'm going to go online now to grab a picture. So I'm going to look for, I just say pretty girl. Pretty girl. Pretty girl. Oops, Brittany came up as a pretty girl. Ooh. Okay, I'll just take any one of these girls here. I like this one. Okay, so we're going to put this girl in our picture. So first of all, how do you save your picture? Okay, so I think I just go back again. Right click, open image in new tab. I like doing that, so I can see the image very well. So I'm opening it in a fresh new tab. That's the tab there. That's it there. All right. So I'll right click and I'll now save as. Oh, saying web page. So that means it's not, I can't save it. I'm going to cancel that. Yeah, you come across things like that. Let me see if I can save it from here as image. Right click, save as. Okay, now JPEG. So I know I will be able to save it as a JPEG. So I'm going to go to my desktop. Remember, our folder is on the desktop. I'll click on website. Now I'm going to save this inside my image folder, my images folder that I created earlier on. So I'm going to go images and I'll call this, I just say girl, GIRL. So it's girl.jpg. That is a JPEG. Even if I don't put that .jpg, it doesn't matter. In fact, let me delete it just to make it simple for you. So I just call it girl and I'll click on save. Okay, so that has been saved. I'm going to go back there now to my folder, open it and make sure it's inside. That's the girl now. Brilliant. So it's now in my folder. Now, how do we get it into it? How do we get this now into here? Okay. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to give this like a title, right? We're going to give this picture like a title. Maybe I'll come in here. I'll just say, I just add a bit of paragraph first. Just say P, and I'll just say this is the pretty girl I was talking about. Let me not waste time on this talking about. But you get the gist. Just type in some information. Remember, opening tag with a corresponding closing tag. So I put that there. Now, let's see how we can grab some pictures. In fact, I'm just going to go back to this space to make it easy. So, see what I have here? I'm going to copy this. And I'll now change them and see how it works. See how it works. So basically, after this paragraph, I want the picture to come in here. All right, so image source, okay? Now, the image that we typed in, I'm going to go double check the name again. Remember, you have to get the name right. So it's called girl.jpg. At times, I could just go click on it a little so I can copy it. Yeah, but you don't have to copy it. It's quite simple to remember. So inside here, you put the name of the file. That's the source file. Okay. Girl.jpg. Now, I'm now saying, oh, I'm going to remove this now. If I do not specify the value of the girl that I'm bringing in, is going to show me the full size of the image, and that may not be what you want. So you may want the size to be smaller or even bigger. All right, so I'm going to delete what we have here so that we can see it the way it is. But as a matter of fact, I think I made a mistake somewhere, but let me show you the mistake, then we'll come back to fix it. All right, so file, save, and just to let you know, what we've done now is just the image, the element, and the source, the attribute, which is this one. All right, so let's take a look at how it's like. I've saved it. I'm going to go back to my desktop now to open it again. It's still in my browser. That's it there. So you see the paragraph stuff that I wrote there, and the image is not showing. And do you know, that's what I said I probably made a mistake, because this is the type of mistake people make when they're starting, when they're learning, when they're starting, you know, their journey. And so let's go. Let's see how we can fix it. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to fix this. It will be /images. Save that. Come back here and refresh. So to fix this, you just basically just type in images and the name of the file, images/this. And what's the images? Images is the name of the folder. Remember, this picture, this girl's picture, is not exactly directly on inside website. It's inside images folder. So that's why you have to start with images, then before you now put what's inside, which is the girl.jpg. So I'm going to save it again, right? And refresh. Come back here and refresh. And that's it. Super. So that's the end of this tutorial. So far I taught you how to set up your folder, how to create the different folders that you would normally have inside a web page. That's the root folder, so to speak. I also showed you how to create your first H1 text and paragraph, and we also inserted the picture. Now, my assignment for you today, if possible, I would like you to do this. Okay, you're going to create your own page, and it all depends on what you want. You know, use your sense, your imagination, and do something pretty. Whatever you've learned so far, try and see if you can apply it to this, and you have my gold star for it. So try and apply everything, with the font size, the colors, and underline, the block quote, whichever one, and in fact, everything there. But here's it: when you're stuck, do not forget to chat with any of the mentors. Okay, if you're stuck, don't hesitate. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.